Good to see everyone, and thank you for coming.
So, in addition to, Chair Harris, we also have a third member who's not joining tonight, Peter Alvarez. He sent his regards. We had a work emergency that kept him out, of our meeting tonight. We do host quarterly meetings for the OPAT Commission to submit information to the community about the works that we are doing inside of OPAT staff. That includes the complaints that we receive, as well as reporting on activity within the Boston Police Department. Normally we would run through all of the work that we're doing, but we're going to change that up a little bit. But before I move on, I do want to acknowledge those who are in the room today. I do want to acknowledge Councilor Flynn. Thank you for joining us today. City Council President. Also, we have in the room, I don't know if you want to say Chris on there. It was a joke the other day. Who is a member of the Civilian Review Board, or CRB. Thank you for being with us. Obviously, we have the man of the hour, Commissioner Cox is here, and members of the commissioner's team are also present in the room. I don't want to say everyone's name, but I could if you wanted me to. But if you can just raise your hand to just acknowledge being in the room, I talk to a lot of them on a regular basis to help move this work along. Joining us, I can see coming in here slowly, is Chief Brianna Malloy as well. So thank you again for being here today. Also, the Mayor's Office of Language and Community Access is also on the line. We are recording this meeting. It is a hybrid meeting so that we can make sure that those who cannot attend, they get a chance to hear from the commissioner. We do have language interpreters with us today. Spanish, Mandarin, Cantonese, Haitian Creole, Cabo, Verdant, Creole. And if you need interpretation or ASL, please see the LCA staff or any of the OPAT staff who can help you with that. Also, the language, any materials that we have provided today have been put in with languages as well, just to make sure that you have everything. We also have live talk services available for those who are attending on Zoom, so that you can follow along that way too. You can have to access it by hitting the captions on your smartphone or computer. And that link is being provided in that format as well now. The captions are available, so just hit live transcript button. So I'm going to go through the agenda really quickly, so you can know what the flow of this is going to be. So I know a lot of you all come to get information across. I will not keep you longer. So again, we just did the introduction, sorry. We're going to review and approve around March 16th minutes, and then I'm going to just do a submission of our public report. Again, we normally give you that report and go through it all. Mariah is our policy data analyst. She's actually helping with the minutes today. She normally gives a very thorough report of what's going on, but due to a little change up, we are not going to present it. The information is there. If you have any questions about the report or more information, feel free to reach out to our office, to talk to Mariah. If it's on something other than a data, you can feel free to reach out to me. And
I think we should pass on the minutes.
one second, and wait until next time. I'm happy to do that as well. So what I can do is, in that case, I'm going to just offer to submit the OPAT Commission public report in a paper form into the minutes, and then move on to bringing up our youth advisory member. So last year we did create a youth advisory council. Yes, we're gonna move on moving. This is not a long meeting. This is your turn. So the youth advisory council was created last year with some of you from Success Link program. Viviana was one of the major contributors of the introduction of that program. Viviana just this week graduated from Boston Latin School. She lives in West Roxbury. She was, while she was at PLS, she was an active member in a lot of activities, including the gospel choir, the show choir, the OPAT volunteers, and PLS Black. She's a current member on our Youth Mayor's Youth Council, serving on the Public Health Committee and representing West Roxbury and Martindale Neighborhood Working Group. She volunteers at her school daily and is often at Katie's Closet in the First Baptist Church of Jamaica Plain. Previously worked at St. Stephen's Youth Program, Stop and Shop, and obviously at our office, we have not let her go. If you ever go in my office, you'll see that we still feel her all the time. She will be attending Bryn Mawr this September, and will be studying biochemistry and molecular biology. Can't say all that. So I want to welcome Viviana. Viviana will have the mic for most of the rest of the time. So please be kind, and before I move on, I do want to recognize another Savannah Review Board member, Wayne Daly, Reverend Wayne Daly, who just walked in. Commissioner, you can actually head on to the audience. So, what time is that? Thank you all again for showing up.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for Thank you all so much for being here. Police Commission Network Cuts have been on law enforcement for over 34 years. The commission has began its service in 1999 with the Boston Police Department, rising through the ranks and onto the command staff. After being several bureaus, including professional standards, field services, and the community investigations, and the lack of time and access to funding overseeing department training for all sworn personnel. The commission worked for the department in 2019 and was selected as a police chief for the Ann Arbor Police Department in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Commissioner Cox is a graduate of the prestigious FBI National Academy and voice executive research forum and holds degrees from Providence College in Business Management, Curry College, where he obtained an active in criminal justice, and Boston University Washington School of Business Review obtained an MBA. Commissioner Cox would like to say a few words.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much for inviting me. It's always a great opportunity to come out to the community and talk a little bit about, certainly a little bit of something. That's another thing, but more importantly, we'll talk about what we're trying to do with the police department. So I was appointed, I think, the 24th police commission. They show which one, the Boston Police Department. And it's an enormous responsibility and honor in so many different ways, because I get to lead a police department that's practicing a philosophy known as community policing. And really what that philosophy means for the residents, the people that live in the city, is that we put the public in the center of what we do, first and foremost. That we try to build trust by building relationships with each and every one of you all. That we try to make sure that we enforce laws and provide public safety in a way that's reflective of the city you want to live in, that's reflective of the values that you have, that we also make sure that we always stay on the right side of the public. And, for a little history, community policing was started under the father of the police department by Sir Robert Peel. And one of the foundations of community policing was that the public, the police, and the police of the public. Or it's the other way around, I probably messed that up. But either way, that is what we try to do. All our members come from the public, and we represent you all. And so by what we mean by that is when we practice what we do, when we go out every day to provide public safety, when we go out every single day, when we're picking and choosing which laws we enforce, if that happens, that's the thing, which maybe I'll talk about a little later. But when we're doing that, we're doing it on behalf of the public, making sure that your peace is kept, making sure that you're safe, making sure that the life that you want to lead with your family and all your friends and neighbors around you is done in the way that you want, and that we are never coming in and basically taking away your constitutional rights, or more importantly, interfering with your day-to-day life, or making it so this is the city that you don't want to live in. And so I am very proud to be back in this department, because this is a philosophy, and more importantly, it's a way of life that it takes a lot of people to do this. We have many people who do practice it, but not all of us do. And part of my job is to make sure every single police officer in the police department understands the philosophy and does it every single day, no matter whether you're a civilian or sworn in our department. And that's what my goal is, to try to make happen. Now, police has been around a very long time, and we not always have the best history in the world. I'm talking about just in general. And so we have a lot to overcome along the way as far as building trust because of that past history in so many different ways and forms. And so it all begins by making sure that we talk to you all, that we listen, that we focus all our energies and efforts to what the community needs. And the main way to do that is a partner, whether it's to solve crime, partner to talk about, how you want us to enforce laws, partner, and, and actually listen to your feedback on what we're doing and how we're doing it, so we can adjust and learn from what you're saying. From time to time, the world evolves, things change, environment changes. If we don't hear from you all from the perspective of how we're doing or how we're impacting you, we're never going to understand and adjust, so we can absolutely be on the right side of you as far as making sure that we're upholding that trust that we're trying to build with you. And so, I can probably talk for a long time about some of the inner workings of the police department, some of the things we want to do. But I know there's a question and answer portion to this at one point. And so I find that more people like to do that portion. And so then I ask us really specific questions about individuals, what they might have. And so I want a little bit of time for that. But I will say this, it is truly an honor to be here. It's an honor to do this job in the city that I was born and raised in, right up the street, in so many ways. And I guess I should talk a little bit about that. I was born and raised, if you don't know that, on Winter Street in Roxbury. And like probably, a lot of other people of color, I didn't have, a whole lot of experience with the police department. And for the most part, the only thing I knew about it wasn't particularly good. And so I was lucky enough to be mentored and met by one of the few black police officers at the time, who's now deceased. He mentored me and actually encouraged me to take the exam, of which I did, because he said that he thought I would make an excellent police officer. The school, I don't know if I made an excellent police officer or not, but I like to think I'm okay. And the reality is, it took somebody to mentor me, to invite me to participate in this, for me to get involved in this force. And I am to this day very happy that I did, regardless of the bumps, the ups and downs that I've had, even on this job, if you don't know my history. And so I'm looking around, and there's a lot of younger folks here. I encourage you all to come join our ranks if you want to help people, if you want to, change the world and actually have an impact on lives. This job does it like no other, and you can do it in so many positive ways. So I think I'm going to cut short my comments and keep it rolling, so that way I can answer any questions that people may have. Is that okay? Oh.
No, okay. Yeah. The next thing we're gonna do is move on to fireside chat between you and Viviana. Before I move on, I do want to acknowledge Lisa Cersei from Councilor Aaron Murphy's office. Please have a seat. Do you have water? I'm gonna bring it. Can you get me a water? I was gonna bring it. I was gonna put it on one oven. So the next phase is just some prepared questions. between the business department. And then we'll open it up.
Our first question is, we know since the time is appreciated and earlier. What are some things like about Boston and the people? What are some things like about Boston and the people?
One of the things I like about Boston. You know, when you go away from home or you go to another part of the country, you quickly realize that every place you go to is different, the culture is different. Everything about it is different. And when I went away immediately, I realized I'm not a Midwestern person. And Boston, and I learned that very quickly, and I missed everything about the city, from the people, to, you know, how we live, to how we talk to each other. And, you know, it takes going away sometimes to realize that very quickly that I love the city and the people who live here. So, and that's kind of a trick question, because it's so much. I even miss the bad parts. It takes some time to learn away. When you're a stranger in a foreign place, you do opine about the previous places you were at that point.
Thank you. And what inspired you to go into criminal justice?
As a major, or okay, so when I was younger, as I started talking about, I was a college student at the Providence College, and I think I was finance major, I was a business major. So it was meeting the gentleman that I mentioned, thank you, Louis Thomas, and he, you know, encouraged me. He said, "You're a great police officer, and you should go on." I didn't know about this, and every step of the way, I was like, I can't do this job. I won't get picked. I didn't know anything about it. But yet, I made it to each step of the way, and ultimately, I was picked and actually did go to a police academy. But it took someone encouraging you to do it, someone seen enough into me to say that you have to be good at it to get you to. Otherwise, I wouldn't have get it.
Great. And I understand that you have a lot of responsibilities. What are a couple things you have to prioritize as a police commissioner?
Well, it's I talked a little bit about community policing. It's something that keeps community oriented. You're absolutely prioritizing, making sure every officer is the importance of the public and that we're here to serve, and more importantly, that they have the duty to really actually reach out to the public and listen to them, make sure that we meet these needs. We're a big department, and it takes a lot of people to do that, and sometimes people get to know a certain number of people quite well, but the rest of them, they don't know so well. So but they want all the department members actually get out there, build trust and bonds to people so we can provide better public safety.
Good. And what is that? You mentioned communities a couple times. What exactly is your criminal person?
That's an excellent question. What does it mean to me? If community policing is basically doing anything within the community to build trust. If that means helping someone walk across the street, that helps build trust, to do that. If it means helping young people homework and basketball, how about maybe helping somebody who's been injured or hurt, arresting somebody that's harassing, things of that nature. Anything that helps the public feel safer and better, and actually helps them understand that we're here to serve. And that's what I mean by building trust.
That's good. And what do you hope to achieve as commissioner overall?
I hope to maybe highlight all the individuals that work in the police department, that work very hard day in, day out to do this job. To highlight the importance of the work, to highlight all the good that they do, and actually to set up the department for the future. We are at a point where there's a lot of members of the department that have aged out, so it's a much younger police department. And so I think we have a responsibility to make sure the department is structurally sound and that community policing is going to be a part of the department forever and ever, and understands what that means. And as we partner with the entire city that's changing in so many ways, it's becoming way more diverse. And so I think I would like the responsibility of knowing that we went a long way at making sure that the department reflects what the city looks like and reflects, most important ways to build trust now and in the future with every Boston resident in the future.
And relating to that, how do you plan to improve Boston police or Boston?
Well, you have tough questions there. So how do I plan to improve it? Well, sometimes you improve something by starting off by trying to be really good at what you're supposed to be good at. So making sure that we have a lot of rules, regulations, policies, making sure that we're good at doing those rules, regulations, policies. Making sure that we listen to the public, as I talked about it before, and get their feedback on how we're doing. And then when we get advice, actually following up on the advice and making sure that we're doing, or adhering to whatever criticisms that are out there, that we're making sure that we listen, adjust, and actually act on those criticisms, certainly when they're appropriate. We need to make it's an employer, it's a place to work, so we need to make it the best place in the world to work, so people want to come here to work. And then when they work, they should want to love coming to work, because if you have an employee that loves coming to work, guess what? When they interact with the public, you're going to have probably a very good culture. If it's a place where people don't like to work, there's a high likelihood sometimes when people run across these people in the public, it might not be a good encounter. So I have to do all I can to make sure that this is a great place to work as well. So making sure that we're professional, rules and regulations are good, that we follow what we're supposed to follow, that we listen, and when we don't, hold people accountable for that, so that we know, to make sure that we address in the future. Those are some of the ways that.
And what are like the biggest challenges you feel short of the
Well, you just have a whole list of tough questions. So the biggest challenges this is a tough question. So I'm going to tell you a couple of challenges that we have. There's a few biggest. So I'll start by one of the biggest ones is that I heard me talk about the changing age of officers. Well, we're down quite a number of police officers, and we're trying to recruit and get people to replace officers that are left. And we're not having an easy time with that, because not a lot of people want to do police work. And so, like any time you see something on TV over and over again, sometimes you can get a really negative perception by one or two bad incidents. We're in a field right now where there are certainly police departments that have done bad things to people, certainly in the last few years, that have been shown on TV over and over and over again. And as the case, there's a lot of people who think, I would never want to be a police officer. This is not a good field, it's not good work. But the reality is it's a great field, it's great work, and it's needed. And it probably will always be something shape and form, just due to the nature of people who get in large groups. And so, one of the scarier things is that I hear, a lot of people, particularly people of color, who call on the job. So I talked a little bit about trying to recruit people that are diverse, to try to get them to come. If you can't get them to come, then we won't be a very diverse department. We won't represent people who certainly live in this city, and we will change as a police force eventually. And so one of the things I have to do is try to change the narrative around that, to highlight all the good that we do, so people understand the importance of police work. And so if they want to come on the job, so that we can always feel a very good public law enforcement. So that's one of the big challenges. The other challenge is, the impact of COVID has had on the whole country, and I would say the mental health aspect of that. Everyone has been impacted in one way, shape, or form, but you can see it in the people that we've come across. There's a lot of incidents, the active shooter stuff throughout the country that's going on, and worry about that coming here. And then you also worry about crime in general. And so, regardless of all the, relationships we build, we also have to try to prevent crime. And that takes partnership, and that takes a whole lot of other things, so that always has to be in the forefront of what we do as well. So I would say recruiting and making sure we address the issues, particularly around the mental stuff and crime.
Related to that, have you seen an increase or decrease in like hate crimes towards civic groups?
Well, certainly, the last few years nationwide, and actually here even in Boston, there's been a lot more reported incidents of hate crimes. It's certainly the LGBTQ community. There's been a lot of hate crimes reported against the Jewish community. And there's been hate crimes, in the last few years towards the Asian community. So, yeah, I would say that there is an uptick in hate crimes across the board. Particularly in other parts of the country, even a lot more than here. And so that's very concerning in general. And then again, when I talk about the mental health issues out there, I consider that hate crimes will be mental health issues, but I think at this point in the world, if you're hating somebody because of what they look like or their gender or whatever, you probably have something going on in my opinion. But how do we address it in the country?
What is EPD doing to address gun violence, and other types of crime?
Endless hard questions here. So we are doing quite a few things to try to address that. So one of the things that we do is we meet, bi-weekly to talk about all the crime statistics in the city in our concept. And what that is we look at all the data that we have regarding crimes, types of crimes, look for trends and patterns out there that we can predict what's going to happen, so we can be place to prevent it from happening in the first place. And then we also actually, put officers in position in the right place to maybe, deter it from happening. And if we can't do that, then we actually make sure that we focus all the resources in the police department to actually capture the people who are driving the violence in the city, so that we're actually using our resources against the right people to make sure that we remove them from the streets so that they're not out there committing violence against people. And so and that is one of the ways in which we do that, and we do that with multiple specialized teams that we have from our chickens to our drug enforcement units to all the different other units that we have throughout the city. And of course, we partner with a lot of people. When we think that there's major issues and we need additional resources for help, we partner with the FBI, we partner with the DEA, we partner with the ATF, another federal agency, alcohol, firearms, to trace guns and things of that nature to figure out where they're coming from. So we can absolutely maybe stop that source of illegal firearms from coming back and forth into the Boston area. And so we partner with a lot of different people. We use our resources wisely. So we're kind of like intelligence led and our police efforts. And then more recently, we are trying to do something where we're going out into the community and doing this concept I made reference to, where we're educating the public on crime stats in their particular area, and also providing some information regarding ways in which that community can stay safe, seeking their input on what they'd like us to prioritize on, because each neighborhood is different. They have different needs, different worries, different concerns regarding their public safety. So making sure that we listen to them, follow up on their concerns, share this data, make sure that they're informed about ways in which they can stay safe. And, again, putting the public first. Right? That's what we're trying to do that. So those are all the different things to address that question. Along with the answer.
In compared to what the very hard job is a full disclosure. Are there any procedures to have sharing protection?
That's an excellent question. So You know, we train officers in many different things in the academy before they come out of this job. We probably could do a much better job of trying to prepare officers for the, you know, certainly the mental challenges that happen and occur once you go into this job. And this is the kind of job where, you know, we work 24/7, 7 days a week. There's really no call that we don't go to for the most part. And a lot of our officers do see some of the worst moments in people's lives here. Sometimes some of the best moments too, but for the most part, they do see some of the worst moments and things that a person can see over a very long period of time. And that over time, that could have an impact on the officers, can have an impact on anybody. And so we do have certain units that actually try to address the mental health challenges that officers might have as a result of a long career, being exposed to things. But I think it's something that we can work at to try to do better. I think that's something across the country we should do. The stigma associated with, you know, seeking help, mental health challenges, it's been tough in general in a lot of communities, but probably in law enforcement communities have been the toughest for a long period of time. But that tide is hopefully turning a little bit here as we talk about it more publicly, so thank you for the question. But we're going to do all we can to give our officers resources. So if they want to, you know, avail themselves of these resources that they're for them. And so talking about these things are really important to make sure that we, you know, make sure that we destigmatize that image that's out there around mental health stuff, and make sure that we address it.
What is something that people don't know that you want them to know?
Well, they don't know. Yeah, they don't want to. Well, I don't know. Some people say that I'm funny, believe it or not, and that's fine. You know, I don't know if people know that. They say, I don't know if that's true or not. You know, if they get to know me. Some people say, oh, you really need to loosen up. You don't know me. So, is there anything else out there? Goodness gracious, you were so tricky with these questions. And Thomas switching up. Yeah, there's not a lot. I'm pretty open book for the most part. And usually I don't like to talk a lot, but you make me talk today, so very good. And but yeah, I'm pretty sincere in what I say and do, so I don't have a lot of secrets to tell. But I do believe that working is really important.
Thank you. And what advice would you give you who want to play path for change?
After following you, what I see now, unlike when I was younger, is they had events in school and nurses would talk or teachers would talk, and every profession had like a career day. And I don't believe I heard anything negative about any profession out there. So if you wanted to be a trash man, it was okay. If you wanted to be a fireman, it was okay. If you wanted to be a police, I didn't know anything about it, but it was okay. I want the world to kind of be like that. I look around and see a lot of people who take the opinion of other folks, but sometimes asking about this profession is very important for people who do it. It's really important work. And we need really passionate young people who care about people to be on the job. If there's parts of the police department that they don't like or want to change, well, the best way to do it is to come on board and absolutely change it. You'll have tons of opportunities to do that. And so, that's the thing I would just say is that, be willing to try new things and actually be open, an open mind of all professions, not just police profession, all professions out there, because there's so many, the world is changing so quickly here. And it's a challenging world much differently than when I was young. But I think that keeping an open mind of things to try things is really important for all of you. And typically,
Thank you so much. That is all the questions I have for you today.
that is it. Wow.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Stephanie?
I wanted to, I want to acknowledge all of our youth who are in the room. Thank you so much, Viviana. She's wrapping up her last week before she goes off to college, I think in a great way. So can we give another round of applause? We have a youth advisory council. It's one that we just started a year ago. If that, I don't even know if it's a year. It's not been a year, right? So Viviana was very instrumental. We call her one of the founders in creating the mission statement and really helping us center on our youth and making sure that our feet were still moving, even though we are no longer marching in the streets, and working with the commissioner on ways in which, oh, sorry, in ways in which we can still be heard and our youth voice can still be heard in our community. So if I could introduce our youth who are present today. So we have Sam, who's our college intern. Sam is doing at Boston University, and she will be with us through whenever. I don't know if I'm ever gonna let her go either. Jonathan, he is JW Johnson Wells, and Zelaya. Where's she? So they, the three make up the youth advisory council. So we are going to move on, and also my staff. For those who are not aware of who my staff are, you met them when you were signing in, but I do want to point them out so you are aware if you ever talked to anyone in our office. So Toshi Reed is an investigator, standing up to my right. John Size, my deputy director. Michael Tony, another OPAT investigator. We have me, who is my chief of staff, Karen, my executive assistant, sitting at the table you signed in with Andrew. And Aisha, both are able. What's the rest of my staff? I don't know how much you're doing. And I introduced you already with Mariah. So again, thank you. So this time we're going to turn it over to the community to ask questions. The way we are going to work the community question section, my youth are going to have microphones. If you have a question, please raise your hand and we'll come over and have you ask your question. You have a minute to ask your question so the commissioner can respond, and we're going to do this respectfully so that everyone can ask their questions. If you are asking questions on the Zoom or comments, or questions or comments, they will be read by our great analyst, Mariah, to the commissioner. If you submit your questions, again, this is a public meeting, so if you submit your questions today, they will be read to the record. If you do it today, even after we close this meeting. Anything after that, we will lead into the next meeting that we have for the OPAT Commission. But if there's questions that need to be answered, we'll make sure that we do get those questions answered for you. But I want to make sure that everyone is aware that there is a way that your voice can be heard today. The commissioner and I worked hard to make sure that this meeting was going to be something that you can be engaged in. You can actually hear the commissioner's full sentence voice on matters that impact you. So my youth are going to hold on to these microphones. Please do not attempt to take them from them, because we do want to be mindful that there are others who may want to speak. So I'm going to pass the microphone off to one. And if you have a question, please raise your hand, and then again, we'll be monitoring the Zoom. There's a question up front. There's a question up front.
My name is Paula Sheffield, and I'm from Mattapan. My question is, I noticed that our children are getting a hold of guns at a younger and younger age. When I was growing up, we had police officers coming to the school, like kind of going back to the basic. Police officers were coming to the school, talk about the dangers and the safeties, and what do you think about implementing that again, since guns are getting in the kids' hands small? I have 4 grandsons, all under the age of 10, that has to come into this world. And it seems like the teachers are being harmed at school. It's always with the kids, and I think we took away educating them on the safety that they're all in video games, and that part is missing. Do you think bringing that back would help some?
Yeah, so we have used to be air programs, we used to do a lot of stuff in the schools in general. So we offer that any school that's out there, if anyone wants to serve here for us, we will absolutely come to schools. And we do go to schools, we read the kids. We still work with a lot of different schools where the principals invited us in and asked us to come. So if there's a school that would like the police department to do something, and there, we encourage them to, they have, the school that they invite us in, we absolutely would come to join to do something. But I know exactly what you're talking about. There's a lot more programs back then, and we've kind of lost some of those, but we would love to bring it back.
Judge Harris, you can come back on the screen. I will appreciate you. We have another question.
Yes, thank you. First, I'd like to say as a resident of Boston, as a Black man, I'm proud to have you as our commission. Very proud to have you as our commission. I would like to think of it a little different. And this is in particular specific to the Black community. What can we do as residents of the Black community to support law enforcement? Not the other way around. I think that law enforcement does a wonderful job, but community policing only works if the community participates. We need to have it on a large scale. So what can we do as residents of Roxbury, Cincinnati, wherever? What can we do to support the police department?
Thank you for that question. And I'll start off by saying first is that, I appreciate the support, but remember, we are always here to support the public. That is our single, role and responsibility. So we always should do that. But partnering with us, asking those questions, being involved. If something goes on in communities, asking questions about, how to stay safe, asking, what we do, why we do it, asking us to give you information, staying informed. A lot of times in the community, things happen and people think that's just the way it is, right? Part of our job is to keep the peace. People are disruptive. They come, whether it's shooting up things, loud music, people being disruptive in general. You need to let us know about it and then hold us accountable. But when we don't do what we're supposed to do by saying, hey, what are you doing about X, Y, and Z? Because that controls our priorities. We have, it's a big city. And in a lot of ways, the noise gets addressed in that way. And so, I don't want, particularly in Black and brown communities, sometimes people think that's just the way it is. They don't say something. And the reality is, that's not the way it should be. And we need to hear from them and address that. If people think that, they need to see us in a certain area, well, they need to tell us that. And so just having that conversation, that partnership around that, coming out to community meetings when we have them, that's how it can be done a lot more, because the more we're informed, the better we can act, the better we can be in the right place at the right time, the more our officers understand that. So that's the primary way that I say to do that. Letting people know what they're concerned about, what their priorities are, and really just hold us accountable to it. Say, hey, it said X. There's noise out here every night, whatever. What are you doing about that? Right? So we can absolutely prioritize our resources to address your needs.
This gentleman here, what's next?
Hold it for a second and I'll come on.
Good evening. I'm going to make this short and in regards to, statistics. Whatever. Statistics. There we go. What are the numbers currently with the cadet program? I know we wanted the cadet program to be, instituted where it increases the amount of people of color, especially black, which we, since we've been losing. What does it look like? What are the numbers as far as the police department, white, black, Asian, I don't know if you have the generic numbers.
Well, I don't have the exact numbers, but I'll say this, so we are approved for around 2,200 officers. And currently, right now, we don't have that. We're probably about 200 officers down in general, and then probably more than that if you factor in the officers, things of that nature that aren't available to work in general. So when you say cadets, we have actually cadet program. We take kids, 18 and 24, and that's kind of like a feeder program to our officers, our recruit officers, where they can work for the police department for 2 years, they get preference on the police exam, and so they can go into our police academy as what we call a recruit officer, until they get out of the academy and they become police officers. And so we do have a cadet program, and I'm not really sure the number what we have there, but we are increasing that. I think we're in the process of hiring right now for more cadets currently.
Because veteran preference is kind of, I believe veteran preference, but it's kind of hurting people of color, since a lot of us are not going into the military, fire department, police department, et cetera. That equalizes, when you have the cadet program, fire department, police department, that kind of balances it out.
It does, but when I say that the impact on recruiting is tremendous, we went through the entire list. It was no impact. So if you took the exam and you passed, I mean, for the most part, we went through the entire list this past class, trying to get the people. And that's not something that we've ever really had to deal with in the past because there were so many people on the list. It's less and less people doing that now. So yeah, and one of the ways to do it is our cadet program, which young people between those ages 18 and 24 on the website, I think it's TV.news, and they'll tell you how to go to the city site and apply for our cadet program, as well as take the civil service exam for police officers, which we're going to try to participate almost every year to make sure that we eventually get our numbers back up.
It's just up here, and then you. Thank you.
You briefly mentioned it, but could you please expound upon what sounded like a policy of discretionary law enforcement?
Yeah, so it's not a policy of it, it's a reality of the world. There are 1 billion laws in the books. There's every law in every state, there's a lot of laws. There's tons and tons and tons of laws that are out there. And the reality is that, if you wanted to, you can probably find someone who goes to some law in some way, shape, or form, almost anything. If you go around just looking for rule breaks for the most part. For the most part, what we do in most cities, and in this city in particular, is you want to enforce, when I say the laws, you want to use your resources to enforce on things that impact neighborhoods. So if there's something in your neighborhood that makes you safer, addresses crime, those are the laws that we're trying to emphasize and use to actually address those issues. Right? That's what I mean by it. I don't mean discretionary, just being arbitrary. It's really about listening to the public and making sure that we address the laws, because that's what we are. We're a law enforcement agency. We are here to enforce laws. That's one of our primary purposes. The way in which we do it, the philosophy in which we do it is called community policing. Making sure that we listen to the people, and build trust in the people by listening to them on which ones to.
Just a quick follow-up, that includes those that are clearly posted, not those that one would have to remember, but those that are clearly posted, such as signs that say violation if you do such and such.
You mean like trespass or?
Trespass, no parking on the curb. No parking unless you're, you have a handicap placard, willing to tow. So if then one of your law enforcement officers say, discretion that, it's their discretion that they are not going to enforce that law. Where is the policy in the city of Boston that says that they're allowed to do that? If I will allow you to answer that,
So if you're certainly, if someone is violating a law and you call the police and you show up and you don't do anything, that's probably something that some of you people. But the idea is you have to let, listening to the public is really important. So if you call us for something and we show up and we see it, then they absolutely should be enforcing. Right.
Okay, this gentleman here.
We're not letting anyone grab.
I have a few things to say.
No, this is
Ask a
what-
question. What are you going to do about your police accountability and their behaviors towards citizens? Whether it's assaultive behavior, whether it's their verbal interactions, violating the rules 106 that you guys have in place. You have a police officer right here in this room that is your driver who physically touched me in front of you. You have another officer in here that has another lawsuit against him for hitting a pedestrian while doing a criminal, whatever he was doing. But I noticed that in your department, there's no accountability for police bad behavior. We, the citizens, are sick and tired of being held accountable for our behaviors. And then you have officers that are on your department and your watch that violate our rights. And then you turn around and you'll cover it up and sweep it under the rug. So police accountability, what does that look like moving forward for you? Because I know right now it's probably nothing.
Let me take that.
No, I'm asking the commissioner. So all due respect, sir.
We are at an event right now with our police accountability oversight committee, right?
Oh, I know them
There's
very
a
well.
police oversight committee, that's one. There's an attorney general's office, that's two. There's a U.S. attorney's office, that's three. If you look out there right now, police are absolutely being held accountable, going to jail if they're, violating rules, regulations, laws in general. We have our own internal affairs process that we do.
And he did it in front of you.
So those are all the things that certainly we're going to address accountability. And there's other means, measures, and places that actually do that too. So there are multiple layers of people right now looking at police.
But I understand that, and I am in constant contact with Office of Accountability, but I'm tired of having to go file a report. So particularly Craig Jones, yesterday on Friday, put his hands on me right in front of you. You have to restrain him as he was deliberating. There's no accountability. No, it's not, Joe. And we have to answer these questions because it's what has the community triggered. And our community is being triggered because we are tired of being pushed back as second-class citizens. And what the police can do is whatever they want to, and then they have this thing called qualified immunity. And then when they get immunity, they can do whatever they want to us and then arrest us falsely, like what Rachel Rollins did to me. Everybody in the city dragged me until you figured out that I was correct about what she was doing. And this is wrong. And I'm tired of our community having to live under these rules and under these circumstances and having to walk on eggshells. I am not afraid of any office. I'm not afraid of any department. I'm not afraid of anybody. And that's why I speak up. Thank you, Stephanie Everett. Your office has been amazing, has been great. And I will continue to see that awesomeness from your office because your office is doing what needs to be done. But I need to see that the Boston Police, the chief and the head Negro in charge of the department needs to take accountability for what's even done in his face. Mr. Jones assaulted me the other day in his face, and he's here again trying to kick me out of your event.
But what I was saying, what I was calling your name for is because what I was asking you not to do is speak to specifics about a matter that pertains to you.
Okay,
So I wasn't telling you not to.
no,
speak about things
I don't take that
that
much.
is anything, I wanted to just keep something that's going
Yeah,
there, right? So that's all I was saying your name for.
okay,
So,
thank you. I appreciate you, Stephanie. I'm all done.
thank you.
One of the things that we have to be careful about is that we don't hear information that has to come before our board. there's a procedure, file a complaint. We have investigators, internal affairs can look at it, bring it to us so that we can be independent adjudicators. We cannot be prejudiced by hearing things before it's gone through the process. That's all I want to say.
That's why I was stopping. We'll leave it for the commission.
Okay, one of the questions is, would you consider reestablishing real community policing? Where officers get out of their vehicles, walk and talk to the residents and businesses of the community?
Yes. No, everything when I was talking about is about that, about getting officers out of the car, about getting them to engage in the business community and the residents there, to seek out information for them and how they want us to police or their concerns around the safety, so we make sure that we're addressing all those concerns. Yeah, that is exactly what we're trying to do.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Danny Santana, I'm the director of IQY. I'm a victim of police brutality for the last 2 years, but I do want to say that I do a lot of work with a lot of officers. Boston has a lot of tremendous, great officers that are on the line, okay? And I don't want to have my bad experience with a few of your officers. They need to be disciplined and need to have other actions to fall on all the other officers. They do a tremendous job, and I say,
Yes.
you know, there's a lot of police badgering that's been happening. I'm not here for that, okay? I'm just here to simply say some accountability needs to be held, okay? Not all your officers are being looked at the same. But there is a large handful of officers, they need to be disciplined, and there are many cases that are being ignored, okay? My case is one of them. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
Again, I'm Carla Sheffield, and I'm gonna get a little, deep just for a little second. The brother over there said, how could we help you? And it's about community and partnering. Well, my son was killed in 2012 by a Boston police officer, and I didn't feel any part of this community. I felt left out. When mothers lose their kids to someone on the street, they got an advocate, they got somebody to help them along. I didn't get that. But I didn't dwell on that. Instead, I created a nonprofit called Better Opportunities, where I wanted to bridge the gap between police officers and the African American community. So when I first reached out to the Boston police after it took me a while to get myself together, they said, send a letter to the community engagement department. I did that for 8 years. Not one police officer showed up to my event. Not one. I held this event. My son, like I said, was killed in 2012 in a routine traffic stop. This is 2023. Last year was the first time I got a police officer there. Officer Chen and Superintendent Cunningham just happened to come. But I was sending letters to the department. So my question is, when something happens, you can't, personal statement, you can't pick and choose who you help and who you don't help. I am still a part of the community. And it was going on 12 years later, and I still don't feel safe. I work in the court, and I still don't feel safe to ask the questions I need to ask around my son's death, but I'm still trying to bridge the gap. I can't do it by myself. No one has responded to the letter, and I sent it to several different officers who was in the community department. So how do you partner? How can Better Opportunities partner with the police department to bridge that gap?
And by the way, I'm sorry for your loss, you know, and you know, sending those letters generically, we probably would do a good job of following up. Clearly, the superintendent, you know, certainly 2 superintendents came, somebody in the department had to know about it, so at some point, you probably reached it, and our superintendent in charge of community engagement is in charge of that, the whole city, so at that point, I would probably say you've already reached out in some way, shape, or form, if we did show up, particularly if you said it was last year. And so,
Peace Institute did the connection, I think that's how. But sending a letter, doing your protocol or the police's protocol, send a letter and give dates and then they'll respond. It didn't happen for 6 years, 6 whole years.
so
I am still a part of the community and I just want to be treated as such. I took nothing from you guys. I'm trying to, like I said, I got 4 grandsons. I want this world to be better. I don't want them to be afraid of police. Two of them want to be police officers. So I need to make sure they're okay. I'm okay being, living in Boston.
And I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry about 6 years from that. But I'm happy someone did show up recently and hopefully, you know, we will, if I know about it, hopefully in advance, I will try to attend it next time.
There's no one to know it.
Yes.
All right.
Also showed up. So thank you all for the chat. Thank you, that one.
I also wanted to, if I may, I wanted to address it, this is really part of how this event came about. Even me being in this space, and I've had this conversation with a lot of those who are sitting in this room. One, I want to acknowledge, your family, and I want to acknowledge what happened to your son and what happened to you. The work that, it took me a little bit, if you ever come into my office, I welcome you to come into my office, they see that there's, on my wall, there's 2 tiers of things that sit. Whenever we talk about this work, I talk about it in 3 different ways. There's the individual harm that happens to one person, but when someone is harmed, when individuals harm, the family also has harm, and the community has harm. Right, so there's a community, there's an individual who has a direct impact, and then the family also is gonna gather around their family member, and then the community itself. And then what do we do? And because of that, and that's what my office is here for. I've often heard, what do we do to rebuild trust? There's not trust here. Right, so what I need to do is build trust. This is the first stop, and what I said to the commissioner is that, like OPAT, so governmental agency, we don't really disrupt governmental agencies, they're not gonna disrupt OPAT. I need everyone to get to know who the commissioner is, like, they need to get to know who I am, they need to know who the chairs are, the boards that are trusted with the complaints that come into our office. Because you need to trust that process, and to trust the process, you have to know the people who are behind them and the good work. And as the gentleman said, there's a lot of great people here. I went to school, one of them who's sitting down here in college. We struggle with our young kids, Stellar, at school at night, working during the day. There's a lot of work that needs to be done here, and it's not a singular approach, it's multiple layers to this. Showing up here is one of them. Helping all of us reach this is another. I am not at all mistaken that this is going to be solved overnight. I'm not mistaken that what Joe is experiencing his trauma. It's not from one incident, honestly. It's not one incident. It is multiple that we all face. And it may come out in a way that makes it seem like it's a singular thing, but it's actually multiple layers. And it may not even be his, it may be seen as somebody else's. And then you express it through your own because you can hear it, right? Like you have a baby, the first thing the baby hears in Boston is sirens, whether it's fire, police, or ambulance, and that child hears it through its whole life. This is what we hear here. So you're literally born into trauma here. So we have to figure out ways in which we deal with that here as a community. And the truth is, our police department is part of our community.
Yeah.
Just as much as we are part of the community, and I think we both have to figure out how we coexist together. And they believe to figure out how we have to do it. I'm not saying it's gonna happen overnight. We didn't get here overnight, but it doesn't mean we're gonna move at snail's pace. I don't move at snail's pace. I think it is, I am a rhino, I move straightforward, and then my work with the commissioner has been moving straightforward, so we all are moving. And I invite you to continue to work with us and see what we're doing. You mentioned James Chen, I've worked a lot with him, you can trust the people to do that. And my former classmate, Nicole Branch, who's sitting right next to him, that's the last name, I'm saying it right now. I remember our pre-ballot. You can trust that they will show up and the board members will show up. And I really encourage you, if you're used to in this room, I encourage you to also show up. We will show up if you show up. As Joe said, Joe can call me anytime and we talk. So please continue to show some signs of taking it, but I do want to acknowledge you and what you said, and just let you know that the community is with you. If not anything else, we are there.
Thank you, Stephanie, for being that voice. Thank you, Stephanie, we appreciate it.
So, question, so I got the privilege of hiring 80 youth for the summer program. And one of the conversations that I have with these youth that I'm talking to them, it's about how comfortable they are dealing with police, you know, how comfortable they are calling 911 when situations happen, and whether they feel comfortable having a relationship with them. 70% of the kids don't trust the police. They won't even talk to the police. 70% of my kids feel that if they report a crime, that the police will somehow find a way to turn it over and involve them in it so they don't want to report it. So I got 80 kids that I'm working with this summer for 10 weeks, okay? How can you guys help me to make them feel better about the relationship within the Boston police and these kids in the community for this summer?
You want me to, so if you look to your left, he'll tell you what you can do. Mikhail,
Okay,
you can,
gentlemen,
answer.
how can I answer that for?
What do you want him to do? Mikhail leads our youth program in our office.
Honestly, I would say, if you think they come to any meetings, I think, you should round up your community members. I think it's important for you and your peers, well, the whole community to come to all these events. You know, I think it's important for both sides to be on the same page. Violence isn't the answer, yelling at cops, just yelling at sceneries, hip hop isn't the answer, but coming to these meetings, explaining your frustrations as you are now, that's where you go.
I mean, that's all good for us adults who to come here and do this, but all these kids ain't gonna come to these meetings.
Well, no, so
There's a second part we can
Yeah.
do. We can come to you.
we do. We also have police officers in this, in our summer program, the police came to us. We had them come talk to our kids. We let our kids say exactly what your kids said to the police officers, and we had them respond. Nicole came last summer. Eddie Crispin came last summer. We invite everyone into our office, and we invite them into our space.
And I mean, I live in Grove Hall. I raised my two sons and nephews, young men who had to walk these same streets. You asked me to come, I'm coming.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what we're gonna be this summer, at the Muslim Lodge, 2 Washington Street.
Okay, I'll give you my card before you leave, so that you can reach me directly. And I will come as a community member and as a person involved in this work. Okay, the next question was, can you talk about the academy training process?
Oh, that's great. We have a deputy superintendent from Academy right here now. You want to answer that or should I?
I didn't get the question.
It's about the academy training process. I can do it, but
We want to get Eddie.
Come on up, Mr. Fisk, come on.
What exactly is the question?
Can you talk about the academy training process?
Yeah, absolutely. So, for those who have not, or don't know anybody who's come from the academy, a lot of people think it's very simple. I say that there are some people who think we recruit people, we bring them into the academy, give them handcuffs, give them a gun and a badge, and we send them out there to train. It's an incredibly rigorous process. It's 6 months, 6 to 7 months. That includes every single aspect of the law. Primarily, we focus on constitutional law, criminal law, domestic violence, ethics, and on, right? Part of it is training. We do scenario training. We bring in people who do critical incident. We bring in people who professionals in mental health who talk about responding in a way that's fair and partial. So we deal with all those things. And above and beyond that, I think one of the things that we really honed in is talking to recruits about why and how policing has changed over the last 3 years. So we always talk about policing has changed incredibly over the last 20 years, over the last 10 years, over the last 5 years, but we really focus on what's happened in this country over the last 3 years, especially as it relates to issues of systemic racism, the community engagement of police officers, And we bring out our recruits to engage with the community so that they better understand. So they're out doing COVID-19, they're involved in community, attending community meetings, and we're having people come in. So yesterday we had Devin McCourty, who has been involved in social justice for years. He came in and spoke to the recruits. We have people who are, some of whom are in this room, who are going to be coming in to talk to the recruits. So for those who don't know, policing has evolved. We're evolving with the way that we run our police academy. So I could go on forever, but if there are any specific questions people have, I can answer those. And I think we have one of the most diverse classes we've had probably in the history of the police department. Out of 139 recruits, we have 78 who speak a second language, some of whom speak 3 or 4 languages. So we really honed in and making sure that we're recruiting from the city and recruiting people who can answer the needs of the city.
I wanted to just highlight Susie being here as well, so they can know she is.
I'm gonna take this.
You can give it to Susie.
I just wanted to introduce myself. I'm Susie Helmy. I'm the diversity recruitment officer for DPD. I'm sorry for me to start my back. I'm in the middle, hold on. So I'm the diversity recruitment officer for DPD. I'm fairly new, I just started 2 months ago, but
Congratulations.
thank you. Of course, this is a challenging job, as everyone has already stated. Being a police officer is not for everyone, but everyone needs to understand that it's an option for them. It's an opportunity. So to your point about you not wanting to talk to police officers, that's not right, right? You gotta be able to meet in the middle. What is about a police officer that you don't like? And yeah, there are bad apples, but there are good apples too. And I wanna just make a little pitch. So we are opening the cadet applications. They're gonna be reopened hopefully in August, probably sooner than that. This is the program for 18 to 25, right? So this is kind of like a junior police officer, right? Once you, I guess the best way I can describe it is you get sent around to the different districts. You learn all the aspects of being a police officer. So you can choose for yourself, is this job for me? And if you have a problem with police officers, be the change. It's that simple. Get yourself in there and figure out what is it that you like about being a police officer and just learn. But I am here, and if anybody wants to talk or needs a card, available afterward.
Just quick question.
Yep.
I got a couple of high-risk students that I talked to who are actually interested in becoming officers. But they have like 1 or 2 felonies, not really major, but 1 or 2 felonies on the thing. Is there a second chance program with the Boston Police that will overlook that to accept them into the academy?
No,
I think felonies.
Yeah, no, I think by statute, we can't hire someone with a felony. Although, remember, I don't know if it's the case when the ball catcher was in office about people being able to do stuff with their record, expunging stuff, and things of that nature. Outside of that, we can't do anything with felonies. We're not allowed to. As far as you can't be a police officer.
One of the things that we want to do as a community is to get some of those records expunged. I was just looking, the governor pardoned or expunged, what did she, pardoned a number of people today, 7 people. Our community needs that same opportunity. Our kids have been over policed, and a lot of those cases should have been sent someplace other than to the court. And one of the things that I want to see happen is for us as a community to work to clear the records of so many of our young people so that they can have these opportunities, not just as police officers, as firemen, as EMTs,
That's right.
as teachers, so that's on us. And attorneys, yes, one of my mentees had a gun case as a juvenile. He's a practicing attorney now because we worked on it. And that's what we have to do as parents and grandparents and great grandparents now in our community. That's our job. And you need to be in touch with the Mass Black Lawyers Association to get them to help you work with your young people to clear their record.
Also, too, I wanted to answer with your question as well. We do have a youth advisory council that we're looking for students at Providence to be a part of. So we have it on our website for you to have those students be a part of that as well.
Okay.
So that they can work on this.
So we have two people that haven't spoken. One is here, one is in the rear back here. So here and then.
Now get ready to sing, y'all took so long. But anyway, good evening, everyone. Lisa Thursday, just real quick, Santana's statement regarding, the 80 young people. There's no way that there's 80 young people that have been misguided, misled, false narratives. We as providers, adults in the community, we have to bridge that gap. We have to change our relationships, whatever the trauma you went through, whatever situation you had, rebuild your relationship with the police. Because it's up to us. These are the relationships that are needed, community building, community relationships. The officers can't do their job if there's people that are out here professing to have nonprofit organizations that are working with you, but are jogging the police. It's never gonna work. Let's change all this false narrative and save some of these babies out here, because we can't have the police trying to do the right thing and we're out here dictating the wrong thing. So if there's 80 kids, I guarantee you 65 of them have false narratives about the police department or law enforcement or anybody that knows. Right, that's my whole point, you're absolutely right, that's
Oh,
why. So let's change that narrative. I'll meet with you, 80.
Okay, there's a young lady right here.
So this comment, this 29 years in the making, almost 30 years, January 1995. Our loved one was killed. His name was Lyle Anthony Jackson. And he was the person that you risked your life for. The commissioner. I don't know what happened between those 29 years that we are now just coming face to face. But our families have never been the same. But we eternally thank you. No greater gift can a man give than risk his life. And if you did not risk your life that night, we would not be sitting here. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're gonna take one last question. We'll give the commission a moment. There's one in the back and then back to you. Okay.
Good evening, Member Rosa. I have a few concerns. I understand you're the new commissioner, but you're not new to the city. One of my biggest gripes with the city of Boston is the lawlessness that goes on Mass and Cass. From the drug dealing, drug usage, prostitution, you name it. There's about a dozen schools, walking distance, that has to deal with this day in, day out. 2020, we spent $5 million in overtime with the BPD department. And, you know, we're always being told that, you know, the crime level is going down, right? But reality, we who live here don't see that. We only see it going up. To the point where folks can't shop at South Bay Mall. You have to travel outside the community. Folks can't use Clifford Park because of the things that the kids are witnessing. Our schools should be sanctuaries for these kids, but they're not. We fought for almost a year and a half to get a fence put in at Orchard Gardens to keep the children safe, right? The Mesa School is less than 2 blocks away from Mass and Cass, and the students there have to deal with an array of things that happen in front and the back. An officer was shot behind the school a few days ago, but that wasn't put out there to the public to let them know that there was a school within a stone throw away from this incident. And this is all stemming from master cats. What are you gonna do with the new commissioner to make sure that the oath that you took and your officers took? Michelle Wu could not tell you what you can and can't arrest. This is more than a medical issue, a health concern, because you're killing the community that's been dealing with this for 60+ years. This is not a white issue. They didn't put kilos of cocaine in the middle of Swampscott. They put it in the middle of Oakland. And we're still dealing with this. My other concern is, again, the uptick. Well, it's not an uptick, it's the reality, the youth violence in Boston. We're going back to the early 90s. And again, folks who've been in this room, there wasn't no miracle in the 90s. It was called the RICO. They swept us up and put us away for decades. Now these guys are coming back home. And they're bringing that 17-year-old that they went away with back onto the street. We're watching grandmothers get killed. We had 2 grandmothers get murdered in the last 3 years. Crickets came from the city. Little to no support for those 2 families, not counting the countless people that touch those families. And we understand that, you know, Boston has an issue. The mayor has chosen, the last 2 commissioners has been men of color. But what are you guys really doing to bring back some stability into our community? I'm getting tired of walking into a murder scene and have to explain to, you know, families what really going on. Families get treated like crap when they try to identify their dead ones. You gotta wait through a whole process for you to identify your loved one, and then when you try to, the police treat you like victims. That's what we wanted to treat them as, but we're not, we're treated as perpetrators. I have a 75-year-old mother get represented by one of the BPD's officers at the ICE. And she was trying to take care of her son, and the way that the officer treated her, why would we want to call you to come assist us when we do, you treat us like shit?
Yeah.
There's a few things going on, and so we are trying to deal with master cats. We are, you know, trying to focus on certainly the drug dealers that are down there. And trying to, you know, do something with that. The opioid issue is a nationwide issue, and police have never been able to arrest their way out of people who are addicted to drugs. That is not something that's a reality we can do, but we can certainly partner with many people to try to address it, and that's what we're trying to do on that. You talked about the 90s. You know, we were over 140 something homicides. We are nowhere near that today. And I know it's reported out there, any death is too many deaths. But today's world is nowhere near like it was back then, because I was working back then. It's not, you know, but that's not the reality. Doesn't mean you don't need to keep trying.
No disrespect, when a 16-year-old has 72 bullets in a gun, it's different than the 16 shots that you have in a gun. So you can't tell me that it's not different. It's worse. You got preschoolers bringing guns to school.
There's a lot more guns out there, you're right. There's a lot more guns out there in this country now than there was back then. There's no doubt about that. But the fact
There's no
is,
but, sir. No disrespect. I'm not trying to be an ass, but we're tired of hearing buts. We're always hearing buts.
no,
You know,
so-
see more buts to carry the system. We're tired of hearing buts. People are tired of coming out their home feeling unsafe. People are tired of walking their children to the bus stop, holding their kids for their life. The last time to see them. We're tired of that. We're not just that 50 years. It's the first time we were in the 90s.
what I'm saying, you know, you might feel that way. I'm sorry you feel that way, but the reality is, you know, as far as crime, it's not anywhere near like what it was in the 90s. It is nowhere close to that. It is nowhere close to that in any other major city out there where you know, DC, New Orleans,
Sir,
Washington,
respect.
Baltimore.
Domingo, can you please let her go? Domingo, none of this, Domingo. Finish your statement. Domingo, Domingo.
We are nowhere near.
You have to let her finish your statement.
The issue with Boston is only 5 mile radius, and you guys can't put on something that's going on. You got to put the officer in the wrong place. You spent almost $10 million in massive cash while a grandmother gets murdered on voting, but just don't keep up. And Franklin Field, the person who sees blue and white lights, is smoking, but that's not traumatizing to the community.
I did not say.
I don't see that in the Boston. I don't see that in South Boston. I don't see that in any. But where I live, where we keep hearing the same thing from black individuals who look like us, who tell us right now, listen, and getting on this. You guys come and shit on us. You ask families of victims to speak their truth, and then y'all turn around and give them no. It's like, come on, man, what time it is? Why don't you guys really go out there and do the stuff that people really want? The stuff that people want to see change. We don't want to keep hearing this dog and pony show. Oh, come on, man.
One of the things I want to
Don't make it up anymore. Come on, man, it's straight. Y'all put your shit on them, and then y'all have like you said. No reason. It's not that people try to fight her. I tell people were out here suffering. No respect, but I love you dead. I'm tired of it.
Domingo, we do not disagree with you. But we need to work at this together. That's the only way we're gonna get, paying this person very much. I live in this community. I've lived the same violence you live. I can go on YouTube and watch my cousin die. So I understand what you're saying. But I want to work with you. I want to hear your concern. I want to work with you to address these issues. Can't do it yelling at each other, because that's been what we've always done. I want to get you to say very clearly what you want us to do as a community. I'm not talking about just the police force. I'm talking about me as a man in this community. What you want me to do to help you deal with these issues. Because we can't just rely on the police. That's something I've learned, I understand now I haven't been shot, I've been shot at, I've been stabbed, but that doesn't change the fact that I've got to protect my children, my grandchildren, and my great-grandchildren. I have all of those. And they're all boys except one girl. And I know what it's like to grow up being a black man in this community. I'm from Chicago, but I've been here longer than Chicago. And I've watched it. And I want to work with you, Domingo. I have in the past. I know your heart is good. I know what you want. Let me help. Tell me what I need to do. Tell these other men sitting here what we need to do to make a difference. We can't just count on the police. I learned that a long time ago. They can do their job, but if we don't do ours, it means nothing. The young man that talked about his kids not trusting the police, I understand that. I fight to trust the police. I fight to try to be an active member in this community. But I know how I've been treated. Willis Saunders had to save me from the police. When I was just doing my job as a probation officer, came out and had guns pulled on. I don't forget those things. That's part of the trauma that I live with. But I want to make a difference. And if I can do anything to help, let me know. Let these other men sitting here, we all got big mouths, let us back it up.
You've been trying.
Let us sit together as a community. That's the only way it's gonna make a difference. We gotta change the language. I've talked about the police doing tours of duty. That makes them the army. That makes them at war. We have to change the language of how we work in our community. But from us as well as the police. And I understand why kids don't trust, because we don't trust. And if we don't teach them that they can work with the police, it's never gonna happen. I know pain is personal, because I got mine. My brothers are dead. My cousins killed each other. I know what that is. But it stays with you your whole life. We have to do something different. And Domingo, I'm at your service.
Thank you. Thank you.
What else? And we're gonna bring this to a close. I'm gonna give someone who hasn't spoken an opportunity. Yes.
Hey, Commissioner, you seem, yeah, but. Police Commissioner always perceived as a figurehead of puppet, and it's really one from City Hall, it is. They talk about the road cops, it's put between the floorboards, but the real problem is the basic of the police. Is, the politically connected people that are corrupt. It's all the basic of the department. Me and him both know, I mean, they literally had like a goon squad. You know the names, Terrigian, Ronnie. Go to YouTube. Back in Washington Police Brutality Against Whistleblower, the legal advocate put it in there for my home security system. It's the third time Boston cops tried to ambush me at my house in Germantown, Quincy. This related to the FBI investigation, began in 2008, it was stopped in 2010. It's the Boston Fire, we made their headquarters across the medical and a mayor, they're after the mayor. They thought that because we were victims of abuse or whatever, they weren't even just rewarded. That's like that program, that's a affirmative action program for politically, politician kids. And they're the worst, they abuse every privilege and they perpetuate that culture of the job, the manifest, and sure stuff. But internal affairs, you go to them, you get retribution. 4 times you've been there. Nobody else the first time, nothing.
Nothing, ever.
Yeah. One behind it, yeah, there were illegal inquiries on me, Julie Higgins, Suffolk County PA. Two of my sisters. One's OI, the rest of the Milton, the other one. The dental surgeon system, mother's teenage daughter being terrorized by the police. I'm trying to protect their brother, unbeknownst to me, they were going to do a research fight out the people who are behind it, where it originated from. When you think of that, you think of like I grew up for Quantas, so you think of some poor kid like I was, especially black kid, how they would stand a chance. But he can tell you, he was when he shot the job in Boston Fire, back in fire prevention, because he couldn't be corrupted.
Thank you, sir. Okay, we're going to bring this to a close. We appreciate all of you coming out. We want to be supportive as much as we can of our police. We want to be supportive of our community. We talk about mass and cast, I talk about Nubian Square. Right now, in the parking lot, when I park my car, folks shooting up. Right here. So we have to do something about our community. Yes, sir. Last question.
I don't think I need a mic. My name is Reese Hardaway. I'm the board president for the Roxbury Main Streets and co-owner of Final Touch Boutique. You mentioned the folks in the parking lot. We didn't have that here in Nubian Square until about 6-7 weeks ago. We had, we always had some folks, but it hasn't become an encampment. We had a meeting with our new captain, Jose, and it went tremendous. It was really good, and we have a good partner. What our partner needs, our captain needs, is support from the headquarters and City Hall to get the resources. Millions of dollars have gone to Mass and Cast. Before we had Captain Hussein, we had Captain Akali, and from what we know, there's a 17% drop in crime in the area, which is amazing. He was on the streets, he'd walk every day, and so we've been getting support, but they need the support. This is downtown Roxbury. It is a multitude of many different things. And so we need more officers to work with us as business owners and residents, because we are developing and have developed a good partnership, but we need more. So my ask on behalf of all the businesses and the residents to support this neighborhood is that you support our captain for what we need down here. And so we haven't always gotten that. And we need to make sure that your office, as well as the entire administration, is going to support Nubian Square like they do the Seaport. And so we've got a lot of great things going on. We've seen a lot of improvement, and so we just want to continue with that. So I just want to put that out there as the ask from this neighborhood, that we can get that commitment and support to our captain.
I'm committed to that since, certainly I said it there, so.
Sorry,
I'm definitely committed to the person that I put there.
sorry to interrupt, but voting for you too, I forgot I'm on the task force, I played two hats, but.
Don't forget that.
Please send support to Village Street in Geneva, thank you.
That's what we need, folks to speak up and let us know where we should put our resources in the community. But we also need every black man that's in here, yes, to stand up and be a part of this. So thank you all for coming. Yeah. Yeah, we have to have them. I move that we close. All those in favor? Say two of us aye.
Y'all all can join in on the eye.
Thank you all.
I appreciate you all for joining us today. Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Cox, for being here today.